Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Nate here today, and with my good friend Carson from Banger Outdoors. And we met Carson as a customer in the shop, but he recently started an awesome local business, and we wanted to share it with you guys. So Carson, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and tell them about Banger Outdoors.
Yeah, so my wife and I started Banger Outdoors. Right, it's branded Banger Overland Outdoors to kind of maybe keep the puns to a minimum, but it is Banger Outdoors located in Cumming, Georgia. So I'm sure there's gonna be a good T-shirt coming out soon. Yeah, so it's a overland supplier. It's supposed to just be, when we started, it was just supposed to be kind of camper tops or a truck outfitter for mainly like public land guys that travel around to hunt quite a bit. And it started from me doing that exact same thing. So I hunt public land a lot around here, but we also go out west once or twice a year. And I'm always looking, how to make my load plan make the most sense, how to streamline everything. And that's where the idea for everything got started, with the camper tops and the side boxes and everything. And as we were sort of getting everything ironed out with the truck toppers, it was like, well, hell, we'll just get rooftop tents and 4Runner racks, Jeep racks. We, before we opened, we had way too much inventory. We really kind of just like went off the path of where we were planning ahead. So right at the moment, we are sort of like a general overland supplier, but only with our stuff. So we have quite a bit of rebrand stuff. A lot of it is still our designs, but we are trying to get back to where we're reeling it back into where we started, with just basically being an overland hunting truck outfitter. There's a lot of crossover between how overland community guys or gals, outfit their rigs, to where the hunting guys and fishing guys and just general outdoors purposes. Yep. They're doing a lot of the similar types of load plans.
You always been kind of an outdoors dude?
No, not my whole life. I guess kind of in my, late 20s, I sort of really got into it. We didn't really grow up hunting a ton, but after I met some two good buddies, really got me into it. I was just hooked after that. Yeah. I'm always fishing. We camped my entire life growing up, so it just was an easy transition, easy market to understand.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So like, where do you kind of see your company in like 5 years? What do you see yourself doing?
I don't know. I would love us to have it to where it's performing exactly how we planned as far as truck outfitter, basically. So, no offense to the SUV owners or sedan owners or anything, but most fellas like myself are running pickup trucks. So we have a lot of stuff that's in the hopper, and I think when we announce some big things I was just talking to you about earlier, that I think that'll probably start to dominate where Banger heads. So it's going to be interesting to see, but we're not doing anything that how do I want to say this? We're not making any decisions based on what the masses are going to dictate. We're only doing things that we love and that we would use. So the one big design announcement I was talking about you earlier, so that's something that we came up with based on how we would use it and implement it. And I know, like, I've told several people this, I can be very narcissistic with like our business decisions, and that's a bad habit of mine. Like, well, people are going to love it because I love it. So we'll make some decisions based on that sometimes, and it's come back to bite me in the tail before. But now, the ideas come from the same place, the same, place of passion, but the development is much more thought out.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I kind of asked you like a really difficult question to answer, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Mm-hmm. I definitely didn't see the shop where it is in 5 years. I thought we'd be somewhere much further along, but that's kind of the thing. You can't really set expectations for yourself because you might get disappointed as to the outcome. but the other thing is, like, you feel like sometimes you're a little narcissistic in your business decisions. Like, I got to be honest with you, sometimes you have to be, because the truth is, like, if you're into this enough, you spend enough time doing it, you're kind of an expert at it, you know better than most people. And I kind of feel that way sometimes about what we do here as far as custom painting. You'll hear a lot of guys talk about just rattle can your guns, and it absolutely irks me. I'm like, dude, you rattle canning a nice gun, like, you could put a quality paint job on there and it will last so much longer, and it's a significantly better coating. But guys are just like, nah, man, it's just a weapon, it's just a tool. And I get that part too, but if you really want to keep it for a long time and you want it to function better for a long time, you take care of it. And I tell, like, sometimes Ryan and I will have a disagreement about what to do with a certain thing in the shop.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm the one who ultimately will make the final decision. And a lot of times I go off my heart. I go off my gut.
Yep.
Whereas Ryan's more a methodical thinker, and he goes more off of, logic.
Right.
And, so we might butt heads, but at the end of the day, there's people out there who have become successful because of their attitude towards what they wanted to do. And a perfect example of that in my mind is Jesse James, the fabricator, motorcycle builder. This guy builds guns, he builds motorcycles, cars. I mean, there really isn't anything he can't do. But when he first started out, like, he got fed up of dudes coming into his shop and saying, hey, I want this orange motorcycle, I want, like, pink rims with it. And he's like, that's silly. That's retarded. I don't want to do that. But because he was being paid to do it, he had to do it. But what he decided to do was, you know what, I'm just going to build a bike. I'm going to paint it the color I want to paint it, and I'm going to build it the way I want to build it, the way I think it's badass. I'm going to set it out front, and I'm going to put it up for sale. And dudes would come up to him and be like, hey, man, that's a badass bike. Can you make me one in purple? And they'd be like, nope. It's red.
Yeah.
And you got to buy it in red.
So I'm a general contractor, what pays the bills. So I am trying hard. Now, Banger has changed this trajectory for us a little bit, but I'm trying to get back to where we're just doing spec builds for the same reason you're talking about. And no disrespect to some of my clients, but it's just tough because I love building houses. I'll never stop doing it. So when I think about where I see myself in 5 years, that's the first thing I think about is, I'm always going to be building houses, but I want to be building my design, all of my design choices from paint color to tile to the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's where the camper tops are headed, with some stuff that are like some more pragmatic changes, some stuff that will support the cool stuff we want to do. But yeah, to your point, it's like, no, I'm not going to make all these decisions because two guys in the comment section said they think it would be cool.
Yeah.
We got a ton of guys recently have been asking us about Nissan Frontier camper tops. Well, yeah, there's 3 people that asked us in a couple of days, but I mean,
it's not enough to justify the investment,
right,
of getting set up to offer Nissan Frontier camper tops.
No, we can do custom orders. Like you asked me about your Humvee. I mean, we could make one for that. It's going to be a longer lead time, but it's going to be a one-off. But eventually, we'll get to the point where there's not going to be a pickup truck out there that we don't have, that we can't do real quick. So we had a guy come to me recently about a 98 S10 or something. I think it was a 98 or something.
An S10?
Obviously, we don't. Long bed. Obviously, we don't have that in stock.
Right.
We may have something that fits it. But yeah, I mean, we want to keep building our design with our tweaks based on these, arbitrary market research numbers that say, like, okay, well, at least we talk to a ton of people in the overland space, a ton of people in the camping space, a ton of people in the hunting space. And through those conversations and then through doing it ourselves, we find these little design changes that will help make that part of that scenario a lot easier. But as far as the base platform, I don't see that changing a whole lot. But as far as production, our net, will be much wider. We're working on some distributorships to help with lead times and fulfillment across the country. So
I keep going back and forth as to what I want to do with my Humvee. It's such a cool truck, and I remember ever since I was a kid seeing that truck, just like always thinking like I'm gonna have one of those one day.
Yep.
And then back in '16, I got one, and put a bunch of work into it with my buddy Tyler. And it's a badass truck, man. This is nothing it won't climb. There's not a trail or road it won't go around here, which is really awesome. But then, the practicality of it, like there's no air conditioning, and it's basically a 24/7 sauna inside. The winter time's freezing because the heat doesn't stay in. It's so there's a lot of things that need to be fixed with that truck to make it like an everyday driver,
that's never going to be a comfortable everyday driver.
Oh, trust me, I thought I
was
was going to get it there.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get it there. And then after dumping a bunch of money into it, I realized that's not going to be a practical thing to do.
It's a 998?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-man troop carrier, 89.
Love that thing. I think I told you when I first met you, I've got the G.I. Joe one from when I was a kid. We loved those things.
Yeah.
I started driving them and they'd break down.
Yeah. That's the other thing. I have my good buddy Ruben here, and from Damage Control Customs, that's all he does is restore back to original all these Humvees that are coming out of surplus.
Yeah.
And he's an expert at it. He really is. He's got a whole YouTube channel around it. And Damage Control Customs, definitely check him out. And he laughed at me. He's like, Nate, if you're going to take an M998 and do all the things you want to do to it, you may as well get a diesel truck or a turbo truck. He's like, that 3.5 liter 3-speed ain't going to cut it, which is kind of true. I don't have a payload in that truck. So I had to have the tires kicked back out so that it will drive properly on the road. And then I put Rockstar wheels on there and some nice off-road tires. That made a huge difference as to the ride quality. Yeah. Because you can actually balance those tires. Those beadlock tires, they're not meant to be balanced. The wheels and tires, they're not meant to be balanced. They're meant to throw 5,500 pounds of ammunition in the back or whatever the fuck it is, right? And you're hauling ass at 45 miles an hour. Yeah, that's about it. but right now she weighs about 5,300 pounds. Yeah, and so she'll do 80 miles an hour. But at 80 miles an hour, it literally feels like you're exiting the Earth's orbit. It's just rattling, and I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. So I keep it around 60. 60 is super comfortable, no rattle. Yeah, should do what you want. But the brakes suck on that thing too, right? Because they're axle brakes. You give a little brake, and you're locking that sucker up. You better be careful. It's a tough truck to drive. People don't really realize that. It's a lot of old
turning radius.
A lot of old technology, we're talking technology from the early 80s is what that truck is based off of.
It's a brick shithouse, though.
Love it.
You saw what I pulled up in. This little tiny 97 Acti.
Yeah, I'm going to take some B-roll and we'll show it off.
Yeah, your Humvee would ride way better than that. It's weird. So that thing will sit, it started up. I haven't turned it on since I drove it here last, which is probably 3 months ago. Yeah. And it cranks right up. Okay. But there's one tire, the driver's front tire, it will sit long enough to where it takes a minute to get warm and round again. Yep. And it rides like a Flintstone wheel for the first 10 minutes. Yeah. But it does have AC, no leg room, so you need a knee replacement.
Yeah, and you're kind of a tall bro.
Yeah, so 45 is about as safe as I feel, and even at that, there's nothing that's going to stop a head-on collision from entering the cab.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah, you
fine.
don't want to get in an accident in that thing.
No.
So, like, we haven't talked about it, but your former service. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You do you want to talk about it?
Sure. I mean, I'm still in a National Guard, been in for almost 17 years, still in. It's bittersweet, but I was a sniper for 14 of those years. So up until last March, I moved on. And that was my passion, was just, long range precision stuff. But I moved past my role as a shooter, pretty early into that. So I was probably only behind the gun for 6 of those years, and I was spotting ever since. And you guys met Brandon at the launch party, so he's been my shooter since, I don't know, 13, 14, so a long time.
And you were SF?
No, so our last deployment, we were attached to 7th group and 10th group.
Okay.
So, and actually one of the guys that we were deployed with, he's coming in town today to get a Banger build. So we stay in touch with those guys. We got to be really close with them.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome deployment. So maybe we'll do another episode where Brandon comes in, talks about his
I'd love to.
record shot. So
yeah, I'd love to. I mean, you were telling me about that, and I totally get that guys sometimes don't want to talk about stuff because they're still active, and that's very understandable. I got this good buddy, PD. He was EOD, and he's got a bunch of cool stories.
yeah,
And he doesn't tell them to everybody, and I don't repeat them, but I really love hearing them. I always regretted not serving. I talk about that all the time. I was kind of like, I was an athlete, believe it or not. I was an athlete in high school and college and played soccer and got a scholarship to go to North Georgia. But, my dad really wanted me to focus on my school and my studies. And
when were you at North Georgia?
2000. Well, started in 2000.
Okay, so you're about 7 years older than me then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I did about 2 years there, and then I dropped out, and then I just started doing my own thing.
Yeah.
Which I kind of also regret, but I really wish I'd have served because I think it would have given me a real boost in life, like just things in general that I didn't get when I was younger. Some discipline, some leadership skills, things like that. I think those are all really good things that the military offers. What was your favorite thing about serving?
The community. I mean, so when I was fortunate, when I was a kid, to go to a ton of schools, so I was lucky enough to get a lot of that stuff out of the way really young, but then I moved over to the sniper community, 3 years into my service, I think, and I was just hooked on that. So this, kind of like the small team community stuff, I love that. That was pretty much it. So there was some cool, all this stuff is cool when you're younger, but when you start to, want to start a family, and it's tough in the Guard, so the Guard career balance is kind of a frustrating process to navigate, especially if you're self-employed or if you have a higher level job, like a director level, much less a C-suite position. It can be tough to step away, whether it's a deployment or a JRTC rotation. And the Guard does not give a shit about your full-time job. And I'll probably get in trouble for saying that on here, but there's so many times where you're just expected to just
Drop everything.
Just doesn't matter what your employer says. We'll send you a memorandum, says you're required to be here. And it really, so we did prioritize the Guard for years because it's what we loved. It's the sniper stuff. We were doing clinics, competitions, you name it. But then, after that Afghanistan trip in 2019, it was like, okay, it's time to put our careers first, families first, because we were getting passed up on all kinds of promotions. But, I'll tell you what, I was just talking to Brandon about this the other day, is one thing the military does really well for you is gives you problem-solving skills, because the military is wonderful at giving you a bunch of ridiculous problems, like nonsense problems that you just have to solve.
Yeah.
And so you do, you know, if you're, you know, depending on what job you've got and what level you're at, you have this nonsensical array of complex problems that you have to work through. You're just expected to find a solution for them. And so that's helped me a lot.
Yeah, I bet that helps in business.
It does help with business. There's never, you know, a problem that there's not a solution to. Every now and then you come across one, you got to back away from a situation, but there's 9 times out of 10 there's a reasonable solution, and that's one thing that the military does good for you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But other than that, like, my time's winding down, almost to retirement, and so, you know, it's time for the next generation.
Banger Overland and Outdoors.
Yep.
Full time.
Building full time, and I'd love to be able to bring somebody in. Like right now, we're working with one of our affiliates, and he's doing a lot of like CAD designing and fabrication for us and stuff. And I would love to see him come in and take a bigger role with the company. And then we also need some hourly guys to do installs and stuff like that. But I'd want to spend more of my energy with Banger doing, you know, product development, business development, stuff like that. So we do have some cool, I can't announce them on here, but we got some like really cool and exciting stuff with it that would pull me away from being able to do installs and all that stuff. So
we have some of your products here in the shop as well.
Yeah.
We've got your bags. So we've got 2 different size duffels, and we've got 2 different size rifle hard cases, and then we also have the Molly carrier for the dogs.
Yeah, the K9 kits.
You're
actually supposed to have 3 size duffels. I meant to bring you some more of the 60 liters.
Okay, cool. And I know that we might have some pistol stuff coming too.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's really exciting, and of course they've got some dope hats. I've been wearing my Banger Overland hat everywhere.
Yeah.
I love this hat. It fits really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Definitely check out Banger Overland and Outdoors. They're here local and coming. Carson is a hell of a nice dude. Don't cross him though, because he's a bad mofo. Thank you, Carson, for coming on. We really appreciate
thanks,
you.
Man. It was an
And he's definitely a super humble guy. He's one of the nicest guys we've met here in the shop, and we're really excited to do business with him because he is a genuine good dude.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you, brother. We appreciate you.
No, thank you.
See you next time.
And don't forget that there is a someone. Oh.